Last time on the Iron Diaries, Braintree Town faced off to FC Clacton away at Cornard United in weather conditions that some would describe as being biblical. The rain was coming down in lumps that night. Luckily, the rain's held off this afternoon, the sun's shining, but there is a really strong wind, which, as you'll find out later, still managed to play havoc with the recording equipment. Today's opposition comes in the form of AFC Sudbury, a team that Angelo Harrop knows only too well, having managed here until the end of the season before last when he made the switch to the Iron. A number of Braintree Town signings so far this season have come from AFC Sudbury, and with AFC Sudbury playing only one step below Braintree Town, this afternoon's matchup could well prove to be the most difficult so far of the pre-season campaign.
Thanks for talking to me, Nnamdi. So, coming off the back of scoring 5 against Ollie.
As you can probably hear, the wind really did cause havoc for the audio today. I'm gutted because Nnamdi's a really top bloke and the answers he gave to my questions really were brilliant, and this audio just does not do it any justice. If anybody's got any recommendations for a half-decent shotgun mic that doesn't cost the earth, please let us know in the comments.
That must be a pretty good feeling. How does it feel coming into today's game? Does that make a difference to your performance the other night?
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Obviously, pre-season, I played 90 minutes. That's for me, it's most important. We played against a team that's a few levels lower than us, so it's always that good to get that sharpness in front of goal, build it for a game like today where you're playing against a step 3 side, and then hopefully we'll go from there. So yeah, that's where my head's at. Building that really.
You've just joined Braintree Town. You're against the Sudbury as your former team. How does that feel coming up against a team that you've just left? You've only been playing with some of these guys maybe 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's weird, going against them, but at the same time, like I said, it's another game to build some good fitness and get going for the season, really. So just have to do the business today, deal with what's in front of us, and again, hopefully get some good insight on where I am in terms of fitness and where I am in terms of sharpness in front of goal. At the end of the day, that's what we're working towards, for the season ahead. So yeah, I know I'm friends with some of them, yes, but at the end of the day, once we cross that line, it's
Given that you are friends with some of them and you've played with a lot of them for a fairly long time, what does that mean for you and Braintree? Do you sort of sit there and say to the goalkeeper, right, he likes to drive it in low, or he likes to have a shot from range? What kind of information have you got from playing with them that you would usually impart on your team going into this one?
I mean, these guys are as professional as you can get, if they give me all the information or they allow me to use what I already know against them, about them against them today, that would help. I mean, I'll try and play and try and use what I know about them as much as I can, If that's going to work, then great. If not, why not? I'm just going out there to play my game at the end of the day and work on my fitness, work on my sharpness, and whatever I face personally, individual as a team, we deal with it on the pitch. But yeah, I'll try and use what I have, what I know about them to play against them. But at the end of the day, it's going out there and making it work, doing your best, really, yeah.
Just come into Braintree Town. What are you hoping to get out of this season with the team and with all these new people? I know that you've worked with Ange before over at Sudbury. I know that some boys have come over from Sudbury as well. There's a lot of new faces you need to get used to and stuff. But what's going to be your aim? What are you hoping to get out of this season?
Actually, I've never worked with Ange before. He actually got in contact with me to come over to Sudbury and but didn't stay for the season. That was last season. He came over to Braintree, but I'm learning, with every training session, with every game, how he likes to work, and just executing what he asks of me. It's different to how I've played in the past and how I've played last year. And the target really is to push on, try and do better than they did last year. You know, with the bunch of guys that's here, some that were here last year, obviously helping us understand like how, you know, the team is set up and how we like to play. So yeah, it's just really to try and push on and you know, as a collective, beat last year's where we ended last year, and hopefully we can do that. I believe we can. You know, the setup and, you know, the mentality across board is second to none. It's class. So yeah, really exciting season ahead, I think. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we can execute what the manager wants and what the club really are looking to see from us. Really, yeah.
So in terms of the games that you've had so far, where do you anticipate Sudbury's going to be in terms of how much of a challenge it's going to be for you guys?
Being realistic, and this is no disrespect to any teams we play, this will be our first challenge nearer to our level. The other games have been great for the time of the pre-season we played them, but this is going to be our first level to step through, so it's only one league. So it's going to be a good challenge to them.
I was talking to Nnamdi earlier, and Nnamdi's obviously come from Sudbury, and a few of the boys here are former Sudbury players. In your experience, does that make much of a difference in terms of the way that they're going to play today?
I think if it was a competitive game, there'd be a real edge to it, but being it's still pre-season, there shouldn't be any allegiances against anyone. A couple of boys might want to kick him, but that would be friendly than sort of rivalry, should we say.
Do you get Nnamdi to sit down and say the goalkeeper's got a weak left knee, always aim to his left and stuff like that?
There's been a lot of changes at Sudbury, so I wouldn't even know if it's the same kid as good there. Myself and Angelo know the manager of Sudbury, and fair play, I think he's had a bit of a tough time at first, but it'll be great for him. So.
This is your first season as first team coach of Braintreee and all the rest of it. How have you found the build-up to training and the pre-seasons that you've had so far? Are you pleased with what you're seeing? Is there a lot to work on?
Yeah, like for me personally, I've played a level lower nearly 10 years ago now, so it's been a while since I've been anywhere near this level, but it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure to be part of so far. The expectations of the boys is just another level. They turn up ready to go, there's no questions of their work rate. It's just part of us now as a management getting ready for the start of the season.
When you're not here coaching Braintreee Town, what is it that you do? What's your main job?
I actually work for the management as well, part of SES. So he's my boss in two parts of my life, which is positive. And yeah, sports coach.
Before you came into the fold last season, they'd narrowly missed out on promotion. What are you hoping? What's the goal this season? I know that having spoken to Alfie last week, he said that the level that everyone had got to was a step above the expectation, if you like. Is the desire there now because you saw how far you got to that that's where you're going again this season, or would you be happy with a mid-table finish?
I think anyone around the level knows that what Braintreee did last year was absolutely fantastic. It'll be very, very hard to emulate that this year. Definitely target that we'll have to give to us. But listen, staying in this league is an achievement in itself, so that'll be us.
Both teams were fairly evenly matched at the start of this game, with neither one really having much of a breakthrough going on for the opening stages. The first attempt on goal coming from Braintreee Town in the form of a ranged effort that was seen glancing just wide of the keeper's left post. Moments later, another build-up attack which resulted in some fancy play in the middle of the box, a shot driven straight at an open goal, but a last-ditch defensive move by Sudbury saw it cleared with a header off the line. It wasn't long after that before the deadlock was broken, with a long ball played into Nnamdi in the middle of the box, who took time to control it and volley it straight into the bottom corner. AFC Sudbury next with a fancy bit of footwork resulting in a shot that Jack Sims manages to stop just inside his near post.
No, doesn't look like it. Okay,
Team's halfway through pre-season now. They've got 4 games left, I understand, and they've only got 1 more at home. Have you been present for all of the pre-seasons?
Games, yeah.
And how, from somebody that's had an affiliation with the club as long as you have, which is how long, sorry?
53 years.
53 years.
Yep.
How would you rate this pre-season ahead of sort of pre-seasons that you've experienced previously?
I think it's going all right. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the new signings. Performances have been okay. It just looks like we're moving in the right direction. Pre-season can be a bit misleading sometimes because you can have really good wins against teams that are lower down, and all of a sudden the big boys play you and things change. But so far so good. I'm quite happy.
Having spoken to lots of the players and various different people, there seems to be a recurring theme throughout everything, which is that Braintree Town well and truly exceeded expectations last season and kind of not pulled off the impossible, but finished a lot higher and had a much better season than some people had anticipated they would do. With that in mind, how do you feel that they're prepared with the signings they've got, having lost players for the coming season?
I see no reason, particularly with the new strikers in place, why we can't do exactly the same again and figure in the playoffs. I'd be happy with that. And a cup run, hopefully. FA Cup.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Everyone wants to win the FA Cup. Yeah. Colchester supporter, we don't get much of that. Had a couple of big seasons where we've done big teams, or not done big teams, but got far. But yeah. So in the 53 years that you have been affiliated with the club, you must have seen an awful lot of changes and everything, and all the rest of it and stuff. One of the things that I've found quite interesting, I've been talking to people around the ground all day today, and the number of volunteers and people that are here and all the rest of it is quite astounding. I know you hear the term a lot, where you've got teams that are built on the shoulders of their volunteers, their supporters and all the rest of it, but it seems like for Braintree in particular that's very much the case. There's a lot of people here that are sort of here volunteering and supporting from the sidelines. This shop is in particular incredible. I mean, it's got so much memorabilia and sort of old programs, things that you know, I've never seen anything outside of a personal collection quite as impressive as this. With the performance from last season, have you seen an uptick in the number of people that are attending the games here as a result of how they got on last season?
Our gates had dropped quite a lot after we dropped out of the National League Premier Division for a couple of years, and then last season there seemed to be a change where lots of new young supporters were coming along, really getting behind the team. It helped that some of the players we had last season gave a lot of their time to the younger supporters, and the young supporters really took them to their hearts. And towards the end of last season it was quite special here, the bond between the players and the supporters. And hopefully when the league games start again we'll get at least as many as we were getting towards the end of last season. When we took just under 2,000 to Colchester. No, it was a one for that Essex Senior Cup final. I know it's a one-off game, but they don't have to come. They came because they wanted to come. You can bring them back, you know, just give them something that they want to come for.
As we've spoken about last season, a lot of people have suggested that it was a tricky one and all the rest of it, and I know that you said that you don't see a reason why you shouldn't go that far. With the team at the moment, the way they are at the moment, I know we're still in pre-season, we've got a lot of decent signings that have come in and all the rest of it. From the get-go, is your anticipation that it's going to be a top end of the table, potentially straight promotion or playoffs again? Or
personally, I'm not getting too carried away. It's a very difficult league. I think some of the teams will be a lot stronger and last season, particularly with the likes of Yeovil and Torquay coming down with big budgets, we might find it a little bit harder to do as well as last season because of the bigger clubs that are coming back in, Maidstone as well. But if we can just stay there or thereabouts in the top 8 or so most of the season, then to be in the challenge, to be in the main, shake up at the end of the season. That's all we can. That's all I hope for. I'm not so sure about straightforward promotion. Personally, it's too early to say, isn't it? They're still putting a side together at the moment.
They're bigger teams in the league this year now than you've experienced or played against previously. I know that Maidstone's got a pretty decent following as a club, and then of course you've got teams like Hashtag and all the rest of it and things like that that are pretty big teams.
It's hard to say. I think it's all down to how important that individual match is on the day and what the weather's like, because we've played really big teams because we've been in the top division, and we played Wrexham and Luton Town quite recently and beaten them here. But Luton bought a lot. Wrexham never used to bring a lot. Nowadays they would, but back then, just a few years ago, they were still a big name then, but they wouldn't bring more than 100 here. It depends. You can't tell. Yeovil, will they bring a lot here? I don't know. It's a long way. If they're doing well, if the weather's nice, then yeah, could bring a lot. And they haven't played here before. I think clubs who've never been to a place before, it excites their supporters, and they're more interested in coming somewhere new. That certainly is the case for our supporters. If we're playing a new club, everyone wants to go.
Do you want to take Will into the physio, right? Come on, mate. Right, okay. I'm not going to get too carried away, I'm not going to get too excited, but suffice to say, more questions than answers first half, fellas. Being brutally honest with you. I know it's a learning curve at the moment in terms of players fitting into the system and the formation and what have you, but that doesn't legislate for players that are familiar with me and know how I work in terms of their attitude and their application first half. Both wing backs, particularly Reach, not at the fucking races for the first 20 minutes. You look at your physicality, Reach, and you and I sit in that office every so often and talk about, where you're at and the future and so on and so forth, and where we see things. You're physically, the way you look after yourself physically, and the way you are, you should dominate. You should absolutely fucking dominate. Concentration is a different matter, and we talk about this over and over again in terms of in games when you switch off. But your physicality, you should fucking dominate anybody. Not at their level, just at their level, our level as well. Should dominate people. First 20 minutes, you looked as though you'd never fucking played there. The wide boys completely and utterly bossed you. Completely and utterly bossed you. That's not been good enough from you either, in fairness. But yeah, really, really, really not good enough. We look disjointed. At times we look a little bit disinterested. Every time we've had a fucking throw, we've given it away again. We're not engaging when we should be engaging. And I accept it's pre-season, and I accept that we've still got 3 weeks to go. But fellas, that 3 weeks will come round sooner than you fucking know. And we've got to accept in generally in all areas of the pitch, that is not good enough. That is really not good enough. Okay, as I say, I know it's a learning curve. I know that we're familiarising ourselves with one another, but we set certain standards at this football club. We've just come out of the fucking Step 2 playoffs, fellas.
Steve's mentioned the throw-ins. Fuck me, they're shambles, if I'm honest. Every time we have a throw, they counter, which is crazy. The the wide forward situation was working better today. We were getting better. Namely, the one time I just said, we went wide, and then we had George went, Will went, I think Paney went. So when we all go in, you've got to go as well, because then Reed can come round. Yeah, yeah.
It's just where they're going there, everyone is so focused in here. Like, I'm recognising that space here. If there is like an opportunity where Will gets it there, that's acres of space.
No, I mean out of possession.
We're talking about out.
Just it was one here.
When we press,
we all went in, and
we
you
all
were still
press.
on the fullback. So let that centre half get it. If we'd have gone in, then I think we'd have won. There's only one occasion. That one occasion could be one goal. We win 1-0. Do you know what I mean?
And listen, however long you're on the pitch, second half, go out and apply yourselves. All I'm asking you to do is do the basics well. I'm not asking you beyond that. I'm just asking you to do the basics well. Make good decisions in and out of possession. Do the simple things effectively. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Take a little breathers. Get your fluids on board. Let's go again.
Both teams appeared to try and slow the action in the second half, with very few highlight-worthy moments coming through at all, to be perfectly honest. A couple of ranged efforts from both teams that never looked like they were really in danger of upsetting the goalkeepers, and also this cross from Alfie Payne that saw the goalkeeper make a fumbled save at the back post. Braintree Town doing a good job keeping AFC Sudbury out in the second half, meaning that they finished the game with a 1-0 victory.
We haven't won yet, but...
By this point in the afternoon, the wind had picked up so much that you can barely hear a word that Ollie says on the audio. What I can share is that Ollie's obviously an incredibly professional player, and he's got seriously high expectations for Sudbury this season. I'd love an opportunity in the future to be able to interview him again, just so that I can demonstrate how much of a top bloke he is and how good the answers he gave to all of this stuff was. So thanks, Ollie, and I'm sorry that I couldn't use any of it. You're probably halfway through the pre-season schedule now, in terms of games you played. You've got, 4 left now?
Yeah, 4 after today, yeah.
So how do you think that, how's it going so far? As expected? Is there areas that you need to work on still? Or?
Yeah, I think we're kind of really in reality where I expected us to be. Obviously we've lost half a dozen players, through choice, but you know, success of the flip side in terms of obviously, you know, players' careers are a very short window, aren't they? And at the end of the day, you know, a playoff and a trophy on your CV from last season makes you a viable commodity, and I have no issue with that. So we've lost half a dozen players that in reality we hoped and wished that we wouldn't do. So obviously we're in the midst of a partial rebuild. Players are taking time to get familiar with one another and also familiar with our expectation and how we want to set up and how we want to play. So I think by and large we're kind of exactly where I expected us to be.
So obviously you say about players that have left and the fact that new players have come in, and obviously they need time to gel with the other players, time to understand what you guys, the management team, want from them and all the rest of it. Are you confident that you've got all the positions that you needed to fill ahead of the season filled?
No, I think we've got work to do. I recognise that. Angelo recognises that, and we're working on certain areas as we speak. But you know, at the end of the day, it takes time. We have to work within the confines and the constraints of what we've been given, which is not an issue. And the player that we sign has to be the right profile and fit within the group. One of the biggest positives of last season was there were them and us. It was basically we were all in it together, and you know, we bounced off one another and we fed off one another, and the situation will have to remain the same this season because of how we work and the constraints that we work under.
Just talking about last season quickly, so I've spoken to a number of the players so far, and it seems to be that there's a common theme, which is that Braintree exceeded all expectations last season with where they went. From a manager's perspective, you guys have got the vision, you guys know where you want to go. Did you anticipate that that's where you were going to go last season, or was it even a surprise for you guys?
No, I think in all sincerity, when we started out the journey in sort of the beginning of June last year, honest with you, survival, as in 50 points, was uppermost in our minds, and that was our main aim and our main goal. But I think once the season got up and running, you know, we kind of learned that we'd signed some good players, and we got a real tight, solid group, and we're buying into everything that we said and did. And I think as the season wore on, then you have to say that whether it was off the pitch or not, certainly on the pitch, expectation grew. And I think really, in all honesty, certainly by Christmas time, I think we believed that our goal and our main aim, which was the playoffs, was achievable. And I think anything from there on in, had we not achieved it, would have been a genuine disappointment, in the sense that we believed that we were good enough. You know, we went to Worthing in the quarterfinals, and we didn't go there with any fear. And I think anybody that watched the game would agree that we gave a very good account of ourselves, and we're probably a little bit unlucky to lose the game. But that's football, and that's how it pans out, isn't it? But yeah, I think the belief grew and grew last season, certainly within Angela and myself and the staff and the players, from Christmas onwards, really, that anything other than the playoffs would have been a disappointment.
Where would you be happy to finish this season?
I think it's a really difficult question, to be fair, because obviously last season was such a great experience, and probably in football one of my most enjoyable experiences, not just because of what we achieved, but the way that we achieved it, and the togetherness that we had on and off the pitch. All I would say is that, without stating the obvious, and it is stating the obvious, this season it's a lot stronger division, in my opinion, with the clubs that have come into the division from both directions, whether it be step 1 or step 3. And I think we've got to be realistic. Again, I would say, you know, our main objective is to hit that 50 points, which is kind of the threshold for being safe, and then we'll worry about it from there on in. But yeah, it's I think, as I say, put things in perspective from our point of view and the club's point of view, and be realistic. And realistically, you know, first and foremost, we want to stay in the division.
When you're not coaching and managing down here, what's your day job? What do you do during the day?
I'm in construction. I'm a builder's quantity surveyor by profession, and I work for a friend of mine, helping him run his business alongside running my own business. And yeah, it's all aspects of construction, really, to be honest with you. We do a lot of insurance work. We do a lot of customer care work. We have the brickwork side as well, and my own side, I have the general construction. So it keeps me pretty busy, to be fair.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe and share. We're on a mission to bring you the best content we can, so please leave us a comment to let us know the stuff that you want to see more of, and we'll make sure that future episodes contain exactly that. Thanks again, and up the iron.